This series began 5 years ago in May 2010 when Donna Edson, as Director of Arlington Community Education, approached me with the idea of hosting a series of public conversations with fascinating people who happen to be our neighbors. I didn't discover that tonight's guest, Brianna Wu, lived in Arlington until I started researching her for a story I wrote in Inc. magazine this spring about her role as a victim in the ugly online uprising that came to be known by its Twitter hashtag Gamergate. Because she had the gall to speak out against sexism in the gaming industry, Brianna was subjected to an onslaught of terrifying and anonymous threats of rape, mutilation, and death.
Yeah, the game industry is really at an inflection point. So in 1989, they did a study, and women were 3% of gamers. In 2008, they did a study, and women were 17% of gamers. As of today, depending on which study you look at, women are either 46 or 52% of gamers. So the culture of video games is really at a point where there's this growing tension between the people that kind of feel like they own video games and the people that are actually playing it. I think that we've had the market meeting one consumer's needs for so long, we haven't really thought about the rest of us. Gamergate has really made me start thinking about how can you capture those elements of dialogue, talking to people, having story, but maybe it's time to take that shooter part out. There are all kinds of ways you can create dramatic tension without trying to kill enemies. You know, the fact is games do lower your empathy. They lower your growth of empathy towards other things. They can also slow your social development. The reason that first-person shooters, just on a really biological level, are so popular is it's very good at hitting your dopamine. Like you do something, you get rewarded, it's this reward treadmill. If we want to triumph non-violent game mechanics, ultimately we've got to figure out something that has that same reward system that the market will appreciate. I advocate non-violent gameplay constantly. I feel at a career inflection point. Like, I'm glad I stood up for Gamergate, I'm glad I drew this line in the stand, and I did make it better for women in this field. If I died tomorrow, I would be very proud that when my time came, I stood up for what I believed in. There are a lot of women that find themselves so disrespected to the point that they quit. What worries me overall is I don't talk to women that want to start companies. I see a lot of women that care about this, but they kind of want to opt out. To me, one of the biggest ethical problems that game journalists have are their hiring practices towards women. But I'm also at a point where if I don't inflect with my career, I'm not going to get back to engineering, which is what I love. The reason I love video games is what I do is art. It's engineering and art. You know, I tell stories and I build scenes and I write scenes and I add music and I get that emotion.